Welcome to a new edition of UMFST International. My name is Larissa, and today we have an amazing guest here with us, John P. Burgess, the James Henry Snowden Professor of Systematic Theology at Pittsburgh Theological Seminary, a scholar whose distinguished career lies at the vibrant intersection of academic theology, church life, and public engagement. With a well-known background in international research, Professor Burgess has been recognized as a Fulbright scholar in both Russia and Romania, addressing his work on the evolving role of the Orthodox Church in post-communist societies. As the author of landmark publications such as Holy Russ and Why Read Pavel Florensky, his expertise offers a unique window in how faith shapes national identity and political landscapes in our contemporary world. Hello, Professor Burgess. I'm so glad that you accepted my invitation.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to be with you.
And without further ado, I would like to familiarize our audience with your unique profile. So from what I know, you have lived and worked in the multiple national contexts, such as United States, Russia, and Romania, within different denominational and religious environments. So how have all these experiences shaped your approach to writing, research, and theology more broadly?
Thank you. Well, I'm very pleased to be with you and your audience today. It's been a great pleasure for me to get to know Romania, and through the Fulbright program, I will be able to spend 8 months altogether in Romania. So It's a very good opportunity to learn more about your society and culture. And the international experiences that I have had in Russia, Romania, but also Germany, Ukraine, these have been very, very important to my thinking and scholarship. Because for me, scholarship is something that depends not only on books, but also on really getting to know a society, getting to know the people, the way that they think, the way that they understand their religious practices. And this is always fascinating for me, where people find meaning for their lives and how they do that, we say, on the ground in their concrete situations.
Okay, wonderfully said. In your book, Holy Russ, The Rebirth of the Orthodox Church in the New Russia, you analyzed the post-communist religious revival of this country. What has changed in recent years?
Well, of course, a great deal has changed since I was last there. My last visit to Russia was 2018 to 19. And then immediately after that came the pandemic with COVID infections, and then the war into Ukraine. And so it's not been possible for me to go back to Russia. And that's been a big change for my own scholarship. But from what I can see, what has happened in Russia and to the Russian Orthodox Church is a very defensive position that Russia now feels it has to defend itself against the West, against forces of globalization. And so it has meant for much greater tension between Russia and the United States in particular.
Yes, and how do you interpret Russia's militarization and attack against Ukraine regarding the study of religion and orthodoxy?
Yes, well, this is something that I am very concerned about, very interested in, the role of religion now in Russia in relation to the war. We know that this is a tragic war because from a religious point of view, it is an Orthodox nation fighting with another Orthodox nation. Both Russia and Ukraine are largely Orthodox in their populations and in their heritage. In fact, both Ukrainians and Russians trace their origins to the year 988, when a great prince, he's called Vladimir in Russian or Volodymyr in Ukrainian, but both people see 988 as the birth of their countries, the birth of their nations, because this prince received baptism into Orthodox Christianity. So for more than 1,000 years, there's been this very close relationship between Russians and Ukrainians because of their shared Orthodox faith. And now we have this situation where religion is used to support the war, not to bring together these two peoples who share so much in common, but religion being used to say why Russia is justified invading Ukraine.
Yes, unfortunately. You, as one of the most respected scholars in Russia over the past 3 decades, how would you interpret the theological logic behind the expansionist vision of the Russian Orthodox Church under Patriarch Kirill, particularly influenced by the ideology of Raskimir?
Yes, well, I think that we have to understand there is both an ideological aspect to what Patriarch Kirill says and also a practical aspect. So let me say a brief word about both of those aspects. So ideologically, Patriarch Kirill and also President Putin used this argument that is related to what I just said, that Ukrainians and Russians both trace their origins, their roots to 988, when this prince of the Eastern Slavs received baptism into Orthodox Christianity. And the Russian ideological notion is that we are one people, we are brothers, we belong together, we have always been together. Russians and Ukrainians have always been one people since 988, and it's always been the West that has tried to divide Russians and Ukrainians. Now, of course, this is not the way that Ukrainians tell the story, but this is the way that Russians tell the story. And so, again, we have this instance where, in this case, Patriarch Kirill says, look, the West is again trying to divide Russians and Ukrainians. The West is supporting a Nazi fascist ideology in Ukraine. We have to resist this. In a sense, what Patriarch Kirill says is we have to save the Ukrainians from the West. This is our duty to our brothers in Ukraine to save them from this corrupting influence of the West. That's the ideological aspect to the war. But there's also a practical aspect for Patriarch Kirill, because during the time of the Russian Empire, there was one Orthodox Church in both Ukraine and Russia. Okay. And even today, the Russian Orthodox Church claims to have many adherents in Ukraine. And it doesn't want to lose its churches and monasteries in Ukraine. It wants to keep them under the leadership of Patriarch Kirill. So if Ukraine repels the Russian invasion, then there will be more and more churches that leave the Russian Orthodox Church for Ukrainian Orthodox churches. And this would be a big, big loss to Kirill and the Russian Orthodox Church to lose all of their parishes, to lose all of their monasteries in Ukraine.
Yes, somehow through their narrative, they want to somehow seem entitled to act in certain ways.
Yes, yes. This is, in a way, from the Russian point of view, this is a war of defending Russia, defending Russian interests, defending Russia from the attempt of the West to divide Ukraine from Russia.
Yes. Alongside with your academic work, you're also deeply involved in church life and international scholarly networks. I would like to know how would you navigate this dialogue between confessional theology and religion as a subject?
Yes, well, it's a very interesting topic. You know, the way that religion and theology are studied in the United States is quite unique, I think, among other countries, because we have religious confessional seminaries that train people for pastoral work or for the priesthood, so Orthodox, Catholic, Protestant seminaries, but we also have departments of religious studies in many universities. And most of the professors, such as myself, who teach at a confessional seminary have received our training in a religious studies program at a university. So for us, there's a very creative dialogue between religious studies and confessional studies. And we don't always have such a deep tension or contradiction between the two because we think that the two can be mutually enriching. So for me, it was very important to have a great deal of graduate work in religious studies that broadened my perspectives and have helped me to be a better teacher in a confessional seminary.
Okay, so it's a whole collaboration, actually.
At its best, at its best. For example, every year there is a large congress called the American Academy of Religion
Okay.
that gathers professors throughout the country who teach religion. And it includes all of these different possibilities, professors from Catholic seminaries, Orthodox seminaries, Protestant seminaries, but also professors from religious studies programs at universities, at secular universities, and all of them come together to learn from each other, to make presentations to each other. So yes, at its best, it's a good collaboration.
Okay. And remaining in this academic area, I would like to know what drew you to Romania, and more specifically as a Fulbright scholar, to the Lucian Blaga University of Sibiu.
The Fulbright program is an exchange where there are scholars who can come to Romania and Romanian scholars who can go to the United States. And I am in Sibiu for these 8 months at the Theological faculty of the Lucian Blaga University. So the Theological faculty in Sibiu is an Orthodox faculty, but it's very interesting because I am a Protestant. I'm not Orthodox myself.
Okay.
And so to be able to have this opportunity to learn from Orthodox colleagues, but also to meet students, to have dialogue between myself as a Protestant and Orthodox professors and students. I am investigating. I am a scholar. I'm very interested in the way that Orthodoxy and the Orthodox Church in Romania shape Romanian national identity. Because from the Orthodox point of view, Romania as a nation has always been shaped by Orthodox faith. It has been Orthodox faith, Orthodox leaders who helped to unite the Romanian people. Well, we also see this kind of narrative in other traditionally Orthodox countries, such as Ukraine or Russia. It would be the Catholic Church in Poland, but this is very interesting to me how religion shapes national identities. So this is what I'm trying to learn about because, you know, Romania is one of the great Orthodox countries in the world, even though it's a small country. It's a very important country in the way that Orthodoxy has shaped and brought together, unified the Romanian people.
Okay, and I'm curious to know what has been the most interesting or rewarding experience here in Romania and the most challenging one?
Yes, well, the most challenging experience is always that I'm still trying to learn some Romanian. And if I knew more Romanian, I would be able to do more with my research than I can. But it's okay because this is a good beginning. It's a foundation for more work to come. And I think the most rewarding part of the experience, of course, has been the people, meeting the people and meeting students in Sibiu, meeting other professors, having this opportunity to come to Theological. These are fantastic because when you get to know the people, you begin to understand that, as I said earlier, theology is not just a matter of abstract ideas, but it's the way people live it out. And so I love interacting with the students and understanding why are they studying theology and what do they think about their country, what do they think about their church. And especially rewarding has been participating in Orthodox church life in Sibiu. So, for example, on November 30th, there was the honoring of Saint Andrew,
Yes.
the protector of Romania. But in Sibiu, it's also the day of honoring the memory of Andrei Shaguna, a great Orthodox leader who, again, helped to unite the Romanian people. on November 30th, in the Vespers service at the cathedral, there was the honoring of St. Andrew and also Andrei Shaguna, and then a large procession through the center of Sibiu where the priests carried the relics of Andrei Shaguna. And to participate in that and to see how there were hundreds of people in the cathedral all crowded together for this important event in Transylvanian Orthodox history. This was a fantastic experience. Again, it's been, of course, having every culture, there are new challenging experiences, and especially if I could speak Romanian fluently, such as you speak English fluently, it would make the experience even richer. But I'm very, very thankful for beginning to get to know your culture, your society, your country.
I would also like to know if you are to compare the religious landscape of Romania with the one in Russia. Where does the similarities begin and the significant differences appear?
Yes, well, it's a very big question, but an interesting question. So I think what is similar is, and this is related to what I said earlier, that in both Romania and Russia, the Orthodox Church thinks of itself as the major force for shaping national identity. That in Romania, this history of the Orthodox Church unifying the Romanian people. In Russia, this idea that Orthodoxy has always shaped the art, the architecture, the music, the traditions, the way of life in Russia. And so in both countries, you have church leaders who think that Orthodoxy is essential. It's impossible to be Romanian without respecting Orthodoxy. It's impossible to be Russian without respecting Orthodoxy. Even if you don't go to church, even if you're not a confirmed believer, still you should respect Orthodoxy because it's so much a part of the culture. In this way, they're very similar, and very similar in saying that we are the major religion. You know, in Romania, some statistics say that more than 85% of Romanians identify as Orthodox. And in Russia, it's about 70% who say they are Orthodox. These are the similarities. The differences are in the way that the church has to relate to the political system. Because right now in Russia, it's a very centralized authoritarian government, and the church is in many ways having to accommodate itself to that kind of regime. Whereas in Romania, it is a clearer separation between church and state and a more democratic system of life, and also a place where I think, because of Romania's close relationship to Europe, that there's not so much the sense in Romania that Europe is the enemy, whereas that is much more the mentality in Russia.
Yes, sure. I would like to continue by emphasizing the fact that this fall, our university, UMFST of Târgu Mureș, established a new program, an MA program, regarding religious studies, which follow the relationship between religion and politics. How do you think such a program can be beneficial for a university concentrating primarily on hard science?
Yes, well, this is part of what I'm still learning about, but I think that a humanities education, and I should add that the traditional education at the university level in the United States, even before studying something like medicine, students had 4 years of what we call a liberal arts education. That is a general education in humanities, social sciences, and natural sciences. And that all of this was preparation prior to studying medicine or law or theology. That these foundations of a liberal arts education, this prepares you to think more clearly, to think more with greater nuance because you understand through the humanities, you understand better the society that you are serving. So if you're going to be a doctor, it's not only about knowing science, but it's also understanding the society in which you are caring for people. What are their problems? What are their mentalities? What are their ways of thinking? What are the perspectives from understanding human existence that will help you as a physician, help you as a doctor? And I would hope that that's what this kind of program could also do in Theological, that it broadens people's perspectives, that if you're going to be in a medical profession in Romania, that you also want to understand not only the science, but the people and the society and the way, in this case, that religion and politics are shaping Romanian society, so that as you serve in a scientific profession, you are aware of social dynamics, political dynamics. All of this shapes the way that you will perform your profession.
Yes, it's important to have a multidimensional approach and a holistic one.
Absolutely. It really broadens your ability to be a good professional leader.
Okay. And you, as a member of the American Academy of Religion, what advice would you give for those who are in charge with the impact of this program and strengthening its outreach towards the society?
Yeah. Well, I hope that the program thrives. I think it's a very good model, a very interesting model for Romania. As I understand, what is being developed here is unique for Romania right now. And I think that my experience has been from the United States that this kind of program is able to make theological studies and religious studies even more impactful, even richer for the people who participate. So I would say that what a program like this can do is to help even religiously committed believers to broaden their perspectives, to understand their society more fully. You know, a confessional approach is important. You need to know the confessional foundations of your tradition. But again, you need to know what's going on in society, what's going on in politics, because you want to be able to respond to the particular needs of people in your time and place. I will give you an example. In the United States, if you want to be a good priest or a good pastor, you need to understand racial dynamics, because we have very complicated dynamics between African American people and people of European descent. There's a long, complicated history, and you need to understand something about that racial history if you're going to be able to serve the people. Same thing if you're a doctor. You need to understand the racial dynamics of the United States, because your patients, some will be Black Americans, some will be white Americans. So I would say the same thing is true in Romania. The question here is not so much the racial dynamics of black and white, that's what we have in the United States, but here there are other social realities. And to have a program at a medical university such as here in Theological that helps students to understand their society, the politics of their society, how society is changing. All of this is very, very important. You know, yesterday I was talking to some of the students in the program. It's very, very interesting. They are pastors. There was a Hungarian Calvinist pastor. There were some pastors from Adventist traditions. But they're in the program because they want to understand better the forces that are shaping Romania today. Especially forces of what we call secularization, where society is becoming less religious. Religion is becoming less important, especially to a younger generation. How will you serve people in that context.
Yes, and in this regard, what projects lie next for you, Professor Burgess?
What I would like to do eventually, after getting to know Romania better, my project is to try to write a book about a Christian understanding of nationhood.
Okay.
Because in Christian theology in the West, there has actually been in recent years a great suspicion of nationhood, that to be a Christian means to rise above the nation, that we should not be divided by nations. And of course, this is very important, that we not be using nationhood and nationalism to divide us. But I would also like to think about the ways in which religion can make a positive contribution to nationhood. That is to say that we need a way of thinking of the nation as the context in which we do our pastoral and theological work. When I'm in the United States, I need to understand how to be a good American in order to serve Americans. When I'm in Romania, I need to understand the Romanian nation and its history and its culture. And I would like to think that religion can be a positive force, not to divide the nations, but to help nations to understand their particular gifts, their particular contributions to the world community. I think this is a very beautiful idea that perhaps each nation has been given certain gifts for humanity. And I would like to understand better, what are the gifts that Romanians have, not just for the Romanian people, but to share with the other nations of the world.
Wow, you stated such a nice idea, that religion, it's not division, it's unity.
Yes, so this is my hope, to write something about this topic.
Okay, so with that, we are quickly approaching the end of today's edition, and I want to sincerely thank you, Professor Burgess, for sharing your inspiring journey.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you so much for the very interesting questions. I hope that they will give your viewers some food for thought, as we say.
We hope so.
Possibilities for also expanding their horizons.
Therefore, being a professor also means being a scholar of life. My special guest proved to us through his international passport that learning from every cultural encounter is a wonderful experience if we allow ourselves to have a little faith. With intellectual stamina and commitment to understanding the complex relationship between religion and politics, we, as human beings, beyond our nationality, are united in our beliefs. Thank you all for your attention and have a lovely evening.